My guest today is Rick Caballo, a true Renaissance man, excelling in various creative fields, including music, art, photography, design, and fashion. His diverse skill set and boundless creativity make him a sought-after figure in the industry. And Rick's musical journey has taken him across the world and beyond his musical talent, as he is a talented visual artist renowned for his rock star portraits such as Steven Tyler, Keith Richards, Willie Nelson, and Bono. Even Design USA magazine awarded Rick with 2 awards when he was named one of 2018's People to Watch and earned the magazine's award for the best brand identity logo that he created for Steven Tyler's solo brand, Loving Mary. Now in 2015, Rick and his partner Melissa Core launched Dead Horse Branding, a comprehensive creative management company. Combining Rick's artistic direction with Melissa's marketing prowess, Dead Horse Branding offers a range of services from graphic design to brand management. Even Rick's art direction played a pivotal role in the creation of the award-winning coffee table book, Elvis, Straight to Jesus, for legendary music producer Tony Brown. And his involvement in documenting the history of modern country music showcases his ability to transcend traditional boundaries and create impactful projects. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome art director and co-founder of Dead Horse Branding, Rick Caballo, to the show. Welcome.
Hey, how are ya? I did not write that. I did not write that.
Hey,
sounds impressive.
You're a man of many talents. I mean, and really, that's how I want to start this off. When did your creativity in multiple art forms start flowing through your veins?
Oh, I mean, since I was a kid, I'm just a creative person. I'm not very anything else. So, since I was a kid, I was drawing, painting, doing stuff, building stuff. But yeah, I mean, since I was a kid, really.
Well, was music your first creative endeavor?
No. I mean, you know what? I just had I always said no because I picked up the guitar at probably 18. But there was a brief moment where we had this old Spanish guitar at home and it had 2 strings on it. I'd get a pencil and I'd play it. And my mum would say, "Oh, do you want me to buy your guitar?" And I went, No, I'm okay. But secretly I wanted to, but I was just embarrassed and I never did. And then I ended up getting one at 18, and then that just skyrocketed into doing a million other things. But yeah, art was I'm a visual guy. Even when I write songs, it's images that come to me and then I put them into words. So yeah, visual always, art.
Well, I have talked with a few music artists who are also into painting works of art, and the touring really gives them great inspiration to create new works of art. Did that happen to you while you were touring globally?
Yeah, I mean, I never made it musically on a level like Buck Johnson, for example, a good friend of ours who um, 20 foot from starving and seeing the whole world. I did it the ground roots on the ground, pulling these big bags on cobblestone roads in Ireland and all this sort of stuff. But saying that, yes, everything I see is an inspiration to me, like whether it's building something or a color or a museum or a church, whatever. When you're in Europe, you see all these amazing buildings, and most of them are churches. When you look at them and they're like, wow, these are not thousands of years old, but hundreds and hundreds of years old. And everything's an inspiration, or it could be something that someone said or that you overheard. So yes, I mean, it all comes into my brain somehow in a visual sense, and I translate it either into lyrics or words or music or a painting or making something, a sculpture, and it's never ending for me.
So how did you become a renowned portrait painter? I've seen some of your works. I mean, the Steven Tyler and others, just absolutely amazing.
Well, I mean, as a kid, I was just painted stuff, and I used to race motocross. And I remember I used to paint all the helmets, the motocross helmets at the track for everyone. And there was a local motorcycle store that would always let me do their work. So I'd be going to school as a kid, and he'd see me, he'd be driving to work, and he'd pick me up And I'd go back to my house, pick up the helmets. There's the helmets, give me some cash. And I was doing that, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was mixing water-based paints with solvents, and I didn't know what I was doing. So my mother bought me an airbrush at 14, and she looked at colleges to teach for me to be able to learn how to do this. And there was no college in my hometown doing this in Australia. So I had to learn my own way, and I did it. And only 12 years later, I became that teacher in that town for doing what I've done, and I was able to travel the world in the US painting and playing music and doing stuff. So yeah, exciting. What was the question?
No, so that tells me that you are also self-taught, just like Melissa is.
Yes, and I think it's due to geography and growing up in Australia. In the US, you get someone to do tiling in your bathroom out, 10 people come and do each individual job. In Australia, someone just do the whole thing. Not because we're better, it's just geography allows it. There's not enough people, so we have to do a lot of things, wear a lot of hats, which is changing here in the US too. But we're very versatile at wearing multiple hats and being good at a lot of things, and really, knuckling down. Because my dad, he'd find a nail on the ground and he'd build a shed out of one nail. Like, how'd you do that? So it's interesting. We try and be as creative as we can to make things happen.
And I love that. Now, I understand that you co-founded Dead Horse Branding. So you are the creative visionary for your clients who desire publicity and branding?
Pretty much, but I can't take all the credit. We've got a great team, and Melissa is very creative. Like she's business, like just business, but she has a lot of creative. And I'm very creative, but a little bit of business. So we cross over, and our staff are amazing, like Brittany and Danielle and the rest of the crew. But these days, I like to let everyone be creative, and then I can adjust and work, because you're always learning, and you always, like, people have different takes on things, so it's not a big deal just to listen to what everyone has to say. I've become better at it, and then I'll say, no, that sucks, or that's good, but until then, I think it's a team effort. But yes, everything goes through me, and it's hard. And I know we're going to talk about social media, because sometimes now it's like, whatever, it's just social media, but it's like, well, it's not really whatever, it's still part of your brand and your identity. So there's some questionable things, and then there's budget as well. A lot of people can't afford a lot of the bells and whistles, so we got to try and make things look as good as we can for the budget that we're provided.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, why is branded imagery so much more important today than ever before?
Well, I think it's always important. It's always been important, except the everything around us has changed, right? So let's talk about music. Back in the day, you would have all these bands on the road making mistakes, like Alice Cooper. I'm not saying they're making mistakes, but they learn from, the Eagles. They're out there on the road daily, and they go, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. And it'd take years to create this persona and brand and show. But nowadays, like, people are watching, they video it, you go wrong, that's it, it's over. They can see everything, all your flaws are out in the public for the world to see. So I think it's always been important. We just live in different times. And I'll give you a good example. We had a client a few years back, amazing looking young lady, and we had this specific look we were going for in Las Vegas for a country artist. And what happened was, we were stuck in Australia during COVID, so we had to get another photographer in to do it. We normally shoot, Melissa and I, and we gave him the, specs. This is how we want it done, blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of things, there was catering, there was horses driven to the event. We rented out a facility in Las Vegas, hair and makeup, team member flew out there. So it was a big thing, And then when we got the photos back, it was like, hang on a second, that's not the hat you're supposed to be wearing. That's not the jacket. So it was a different brand that the photographer was selling to what we had to sell. So it's like, they were great photos. You can get the best photographer in the world to take the photo, but if it's not on brand and not to the key message, then it's useless. You know what I mean? So it'd be
Yeah, I
like
mean,
shooting Frank
well,
Sinatra in a punk leather jacket with a nose ring, and you're like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" You know?
how did you and Melissa handle being, from what I've heard, trapped in Australia during the pandemic? Because it took basically an act of the government to even get out.
Yes. Well, we're stuck there. It took us years. We're stuck in Australia 2.5 years, and I would say credit to our staff here in the US. They're phenomenal, great, great people. They know the job. They are the one that kept us going, and yeah, I mean that's the only real reason is that our staff here. Um, Zoom allowed us to be able to stay there as long as we did, comfortably with all the meetings. And that was a lot of hard work. We'd get up at 2 in the morning. We're doing lectures at 2 in the morning. Get up, get dressed, go back in your PJs. But all credit to our staff. So yeah, there's no
Yeah,
other answer.
the time change always boggles my mind because I recently interviewed a Tasmanian film director. He had to get up at 5 a.m. just to do the interview.
Yeah, yeah, we're on the other side of the world. But I mean, like I said, to have a normal conversation these days, everyone wants to have a Zoom. Like, let's just talk on the phone. We don't need to look at each other. So it became a thing. The Zoom thing became a thing. So it allowed us to stay there longer, more freely. So very happy that happened. That allowed us to do that. And I love Australia. I just love it. So
Well,
best
well,
of both worlds.
yeah, indeed. But let me ask you this because um, with so much, because of social media, people are trying to create their look, their personality, their brand. Why is capturing one's identity so very important in the world of publicity and brand management now?
It's a great question. And again, I'll answer it like I did before. It's as important as ever. Before as well, we just didn't know social media was before it was invented. There's so much noise these days that you have to cut through. It's like, so how do you cut through? Um, you have to cut through by having your brand identity all aligned and locked down, so speaks to a specific audience. So there's no other answer except you just got to be prepared and have your brand ready.
Well, for you, what process do you go through to rebrand and or fine tune a client's image to lift them up above their competition?
Yeah, okay. So that's another great question. So we love working with startup acts and startup businesses, and we also love working with the legacy acts that are on the decline or they're hit a plateau. Um, so the first thing I do is for musicians, I always say, what would you be doing right now if you weren't a musician? Oh, well, I'd be a horse rider or a trainer or whatever. Okay, cool. Or I'm a race car driver. I went, okay, interesting to know. So I like to incorporate what they love and who they are as people anyway, as a core. There's no point, well, I'm like Taylor Swift. It's like, okay, there's a million out there trying to be like Taylor Swift, but there's only one Taylor Swift right now, and she's still here taking up that spot. We have to wait maybe another 15 years for another one to come along to copy her. So my thing is to find out who they are as a core person, identity, and then what's their message, and where do they want to go? What is is your message about climate change? Is it about war? What is it? Is it about religion, or is it about just having fun and being a party animal and drinking alcohol and doing drugs? Whatever it is, let's find that message and let's stick to it. And then with that, the whole process is like, what's your favorite color? Well, it's pink and blue polka dots. Well, you're in a band like Metallica, so that's not going to work. So there's a lot of strategy involved, and it's just a bit of bouncing back and forth. Okay, well that doesn't work with that. And when you look at the strategy, it all lines up. I try as a creative, I try not to be too locked down to a strategy, but strategy is the roadmap. And then if we tend to go left or right, we know if we go left, we're going to have a little bit of a problem over here. But if we go right, we go over here. We can adjust along the way. But if the core message is true and solid, then happy days.
Well, you bring up a good point about something with legacy acts. Um, Country music, well, radio doesn't favor the legends that we still know today that are still out there touring. So you reach a certain point in country music and you hear an artist go, "I'm taking a year off." Well, that pretty much means that if they're not at the level of Taylor Swift, their career is going to suffer for that. And they may not make it back. Some may, George Strait would, he would make it back. Garth Brooks kind of proved that he still had what it took to come back after 5 or 10 years after raising his kids. But most acts don't have that luxury. Uh, but with a legacy act that a lot of people do know, and maybe their career is slightly on the decline, what do you do to help pick that back up?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I'd even add in, when you say legacy, but I'd add in any current act right now. I would add them in the mix too. If you go downtown Nashville now, everyone's got a bar. Everyone's got, like before, like Jimmy Buffett worked all his life to get a bar, Margaritaville, and the brand, and all these guys that they put their time in that. Now everyone's like, "Here, you want a bar? Here's a bar. Here, you want a bar? Bar." It's not about that, because 2 weeks later, and we just saw it in the news 2 days ago, FGL, which is Florida Georgia Line, their bar shut down, and Lainey Wilson's occupying it. So there's no longevity into that whole brand anymore by the looks of it, because they just go on too quick. So what happens is, well, who's the next hot thing? Boom, we'll put them in there for a few years. So there needs to be some setup time. But the question was, what was the question? I got sidetracked.
Well, no, it's with legacy, legacy
What
acts.
we do,
That's
what we do.
yeah, to
Correct.
get them back towards the top, or at least stay current in the industry.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, got sidetracked there. So that's a great question, and we've been working with the Bo Diddley estate for 4 years now, and what we did for starters, we compiled all their songs. We put it all on a website. We've got some brand collaborations down. We're working with Fender Guitars and Gretsch. We're working with Axe Heaven miniature guitar series. We're working with bobbleheads. We're working with all these brand collaborators to get a bit of a groundswell going. We've got bourbon whiskey and that coming out. So it's all these brand collaborations, bring it together. And then once you got, it's almost like putting a little bit of bait on the hook. And then we get a fish, we pull a fish in, we use that fish for bait, and then we go for the bigger fish. So with brands like Bo Diddley, it's sort of like he was up here, and then he was flattening out, and then he's on the decline musically, not because he's good or bad. It's just because the demographics dying off, and there's not enough brand vigoration to keep it going. Like Elvis Presley is a great example of a brand group that's just doing a great job keeping that story and that brand alive, making millions of dollars. And I know you know a lot of the people from that camp. So it's not rocket science. It's just consistency within the messaging, like social media, brand collaborations, new music. Oh, we found some old Bo Diddley tapes. Let's go put it out there and see what happens. So it's not hard. We work with a lot of legacy acts, and one of them, as you know, is Tony Brown, the producer who played for Elvis Presley, and he's still kicking ass. Like, he's awesome. He's still working and doing stuff. So if you've got a good base to work from, it's easy. The new acts are a little harder because you got more fun because you get to build it and see it grow. Whereas the legacy acts, you're sort of just adding water and fertilizer and keeping it alive.
Well, nowadays, because of online streaming, especially for the music industry, there are more independent artists because record labels aren't really signing, numerous acts like they did back in the 60s and the 70s and upwards into the 80s. Now everybody seems to be on their own. And do you work with independent recording artists?
Yeah, I mean, predominantly most of them are. We do work with some record labels now, but most of them are, because if a lot of them have funding from their parents, or they're just lucky to have that funding, they can bring us on. But otherwise, how are you going to cut through the noise? What's the specific channel that you're going to take to be able to cut through? And it all goes back to sales. Like you're saying, that legacy acts, no one's going out to watch them anymore. They're going to take a year off. It's like, well, it's all about bums on seats, right? So if no one's going, as you get older, like me, I don't want to go out in downtown and party. I just want to stay home and watch TV or play guitar or do something. So that demographic starts going out less and less and less and less, where the young people are just out there partying, having a good time. So if you go where the money is, that's where the people are. So it's just a matter of strategizing what you do versus money and your clientele. So if there's a young fan base, it doesn't matter if, like, for example, what do you call success? Well, how do you define success? To me, it's like doing something that you love and getting paid for it. If you define success as, well, I want to make $100 million like Taylor Swift, or $1 billion, whatever that is, it's like, well, to me, that's not success. You need to follow what your true soul wants. Because success these days is a number on Instagram or whatever. It's like, oh, it's a big deal. Or 1 million
Exactly.
streams
Well,
on
yeah,
Spotify.
yeah. I had a recording artist who had he had 1 million followers on his Facebook page. He comes out with an album, and it only sold about 10,000 copies, and he was ranting and raving. He was so mad. It's like, what's the deal? I have all of these fans. And I'm like, no, you don't have fans. You have followers. There's a difference. If you have 1 million followers on Facebook, 1 million people are not buying your album. 1 to 2% of that actual number will most likely buy the album. So if you sold 10,000, you pretty much met your match in the limit on that album based on just that one social media account.
That's
You
right.
know, you
That's
know,
right. And there's a big difference between a social media person and a musician, where it's out there touring, and you got to put the hard yards in. Like remember starting out driving 6 hours to a gig, playing to like 5 people, and then the barman's like, "Well, I'm not paying you tonight." And then you got to go back and drive 6 hours, and those are the gigs that give you credibility on, okay, this staying power of like, okay, I know what to do next time when that happens. Or if you're playing in front of 15,000 people, it's like, oh, it's a bigger thing. There's more at stake. It's like, okay, I know how that feels as well. So these social media people, they get out on a live stage, they don't know how to communicate with the audience or connect with the audience. And we've seen that play out a lot with our clients as well, that are predominantly social media people that really need to spend more time on the road crafting their skills as an entertainer and a communicator.
well, yeah,
Big difference.
yeah, because a social media expert needs to stop sitting behind the computer screen and get out there. So if they are if they are working with an artist, they need to go with and see them in person. Scan the crowd, look at the reaction, how many people showed up. Why did this venue have a low amount? Why did that other venue have a great amount? And try and work that to your advantage, because you're gaining life experience based on being out there, and stop hiding behind a screen. When it comes
Yeah.
to recording artists, besides having musical talent, what part of their brand do you need to focus on to be seen in a crowded world of social media?
Well, that's a loaded question, but it depends. Like, it all goes back to the strategy. It's like, who's your audience? It's like, I want to do this like Taylor Swift. I want to do this like Taylor Swift. It's like, well, you're not Taylor Swift. It's not gonna them calculations aren't gonna work out. And there's a lot of things called timing and luck. Luck's a big one. But social media is obviously a necessary evil. You need to work it to the best advantage. But I think you need to be yourself. Find out who you are first, and then find out. Like, if I said there's a calling for country girls that play polka music, for example. Let's say that was the niche demographic, and there's 5 million or 20 million people out there that love that style of music. It's like, well, I'm not I'm not going to go play polka music just because there's 20 million people in that area. Or you know what? Maybe I can just open that up and I'll play polka music and I'll gain that audience, and that audience will be mine. There's a lot of people that are successful that you don't even know about. They're making $3 million, $5 million a year. That are content with that. You know, obviously there's costs. You know, touring costs and band, all that sort of stuff. But you probably never heard of them, and they're happy. They're successful. So the minute I think people these days put too much emphasis on numbers and who that. It's really about the craft and what the actual content that you're producing is. Then worry about the numbers, because that will come later if you're really serious about what you're doing.
Yeah, I think a good example is when I first heard the band Rival Sons. Absolutely blew me away. It's great to hear true, authentic rock music come back, but they built their whole following online. Didn't need one radio station to play any of their songs, and they were pumping out more than one album per year, just feeding their fan base
Mm.
and and doing great. And there's a lot of people that know who they are, and there are people who still don't know who they are, because we live in a world of online.
Mm.
But like you said, you get out there and be passionate about and love what you do, and hopefully it'll come back and support you.
Build it and they will come, as they say. So, and
It's true.
it's nothing. It's not rocket science. It's
No,
just
but
do it.
when I talked to Melissa, the one of the things that really separated Dead Horse Branding above many other PR agencies is the formula that you use called DH7.
Yep, yep. I know you've spoken to Melissa about this, but yeah, we were lucky enough to meet with Keith Parisi and Danny Howe from Joel Katz's university in Atlanta, Kennesaw State University. We have a lot of mutual friends and clients, and we just Mel actually just got on an email. We just started talking and said, "Would we actually need this in our school?" And we've been doing it for a few years now, and we at the end of the semester we get people in the industry that could be producers, record label heads, managers, distributors, whatever, from Apple Music or whatever, and they go, "Holy crap! I wish I had this in music school when I was starting out. I wish I knew about this." And because it's a thing that you teach the music side of things, and it's like, now what? It's like I'm out there with all these other musicians, but as you're learning the music, you're building your brand, and by the time you finish the course, it's like I'm ready to rock. I know exactly where I'm going. I know exactly where I'm going to slot in. I know there's a hole over here in this market. I'm going to fill that hole. And part of the things that we do too, it's like in the start we have a Marvel superhero lineup: Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, all them guys. And we explain to them, it's like, well, who are you? They go, well, I'm a little like Taylor Swift. All right, okay, we've got Taylor Swift there. She's Wonder Woman over there. So we don't need another one of those. There's a reason why Marvel doesn't have more than 10 characters or whatever it is. It's because there's not enough room in the industry for that. And there's already one person like that. So what is your superpower? And then we go into the other side is like, okay, well, who are the villains in the Marvel world? The AC/DCs, the Rolling Stones, you know, maybe these days it's Miley Cyrus or Post Malone or them guys. So you have to be able to fill a niche. There's no point jumping in somebody else's grave. It's already taken. So you really need to define who you are and strategize to cutting through that noise by carving out your own lane.
Well, how did you collaborate? How did the collaboration happen between you and Joel Katz?
Well, it happened very easily, actually. We shouldn't lie. Like Mel and I decided we should put this in a course, not only for to put it out there, but to put it for ourselves and our staff, because as we grow, we're getting new staff members come, and sometimes they go, they have a baby, and they move on. Whatever it is, it's a good little training session on this is how branding works, even if you don't know it. And then, like I said, it was a conversation over the email, and then we just started it, and then COVID hit, and then we're over there teaching via Zoom and all these crazy hours, and we've gone down to Atlanta and been there in person, having a lot of great fun, and it's great seeing the students go, oh, okay, I get it, because part of it is like they don't know why they go to McDonald's to have a cheeseburger or a Big Mac, you know. Part of the course is, we'll show pictures of McDonald's and that. And I said, what if McDonald's looked like this? Would you go in? They're like, oh no. I said, why not? It says McDonald's on the building. It's got a burger on the front. Yeah, but it's green and it doesn't look the same. I said, well, it's the same as music. Music exactly the same. Especially these days, all the millennials and all the younger generation, they're chopping and changing, moving here, moving there. It's like, hang on, stay on brand, be consistent. There's a reason why McDonald's hasn't changed their logo in years, or they've done a rebrand. It's very minimal and slight. It's done very carefully. And, not to mention, if you're American Airlines and you do a rebrand like they did a few years ago, that costs millions and millions and millions of dollars. You think every airplane has to be painted, or the marketing materials have to be done, the website has to be changed, the logo has to be paid for, the napkins, everything. So it's very easy to stay on brand. It's really the easiest thing you can do is just be consistent. I say all the time, it's better to have a crappy logo and colors and just be consistent with that always than to have all these great logos and fancy colors that are off brand. And, be consistent. That's all I can say is for branding, and you're on the right track.
Well, it's funny you bring up places like McDonald's. A lot of people don't realize that if they look at every fast food restaurant, every single one of them uses the color red, because red means stop.
And it's warm. That's exciting. It's like, let's go. It sort of means stop and look at me, but let's do this. And it's simple. Like you look at Apple, McDonald's, Target. They're all like simple logos. Any person can draw it with a pencil and go, oh yeah, I got it. It sticks in their mind. Psychology.
And that's what it's all about. It's like I tell people, a hit song or a song becomes a hit because if you listen to it either once or twice and it's already embedded in your mind, then that artist has a hit.
Yeah, and it's strange, but at the same time, it's like it's only a hit because someone said it's a hit, because people are listening to it. I had a friend that's got had a number one recently, and he says, I finally became a hit songwriter, but I wrote that song 20 years ago. So it's like, it's a chicken and the egg, but you're right. If it's stuck in your head, you're on something really, really good.
Yeah,
special.
It's true. Now, I understand you state that icons aren't built on an assembly line. They are carved out of time. We live in a world where people want instant success, but patience is key. But would you say getting the right advice and guidance should be high on everyone's list when it comes to those who are classified as creatives?
Oh, I mean, yeah, that goes for everything. But and especially, I wish I had someone that showed me the way and how to do things without me making all those mistakes on the front end. But it made it stick into my mind better. But I would say there's never a shortcut without some sort of consequence. And these days, everyone wants to be famous in 2 seconds, and they want the million views and all this sort of stuff. And it's like the whole. It's about it's the journey that defines us, not the destination, right? So to all these young people out there, wanting, I'm going to get 10 million followers, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to get that. It's like you're chasing your tail. It's a lot of BS, And I, as an older person now, I'm like, I don't get some of the stuff that's out there now. Like lately, I've been getting some stuff in my feed, this Instagram feed of these cowboy guys dressed in cowboy, good-looking guys, very feminine, and they're walking and pretending to sing, and I'm like, okay, so you're not singing, you look good, and you're doing this weird stuff with 5 or 6 guys, and I'm like, what's the talent? Sure, you got 10 million views, but a lot of those 5 million are haters that are like, going, what the hell is this rubbish? You know, like I just don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe 5-year-old, 10-year-old girls love it. I don't know, but it's just strange. There needs to be some sort of hard work, like I said before. You need to get out on the road then and work the crowd and learn your skills and work out what works and what doesn't work. Hone it in. Don't put everything out there because it's like it's gone. What's the point? Like a lot of people put everything out there. It's like, well, why should I buy your album or do anything? I've already got it. You saturated the market with all this content that I don't really need to chase you anymore. But I think also you need to work out what success is to you as a creative, you know,
Well,
a
I think
touring.
you said it
Sorry.
earlier. Success is being passionate about something that you love doing, but you're also making a living doing it.
Correct. Now, to me, there's more success and longevity in someone that you don't know who is out there playing all the clubs and bars and pubs, um, creating a groundswell, doing social media, of course, but compared to the person that's got 15 million views on TikTok for doing something stupid or playing a song, a cover song, because they're not going to have you take that social media person and put them into a live audience, they're going to struggle. But you put a musician in front of a social media camera, and then they'll kill it every time. Sure, they're different, but at the end of the day, it's content and skill. If you don't have it, hiding behind the camera and all the filters and all the editing and I'll cut that out. I went flat there. Let's cut that out. Or you're just going out there on stage every night and just killing it, and learning and just honing your skills. And working out, the most important thing is working out what's best for you as the artist. Because I remember starting, I wanted to sing stuff like Bon Jovi stuff. My register wasn't even that high, you know? It was like, what am I doing? Sure, it's a great song and I'd love to do it, but I can't. It's not me. So that's when I just started writing my own stuff and I went, okay, this fits me better and it's true and it's authentic. But I mean, that's my advice to the young people out there trying to make it. Just don't worry about all the noise. Just do what you do and do it great. I see this little kid on Instagram. He's a little, I don't want to say redneck, but he's a little country boy with glasses and he's goofy and he's a monster guitar player. I'm like, holy crap, this guy's awesome. I just think he's cool. And there's no bells and whistles. He's just rocking his little guitar. To me, that's real and authentic, and there's integrity to that rather than this fake stuff and pretending to sing and, hey, look at me. And it's just, there's too much noise. And when the power goes out, which it will one day, that's when the true talent will come out and take over.
Exactly, because once you have 10 million followers based on no talent, what are you going to do with that?
That's right. You need to have an audience and a groundswell and keep that. Feed the audience, and you'll be very successful.
Well, for you, how would you describe the massive Kardashian publicity machine? Is there such thing as too much publicity?
I mean, it's not my world, but I'll give you my. That's more the girls, Melissa, and that. But yeah, I think so, and I don't like or dislike Taylor Swift, but I'll use that as an example because of now, like everywhere. It hasn't been the last maybe month or so, but for a while there was like every day it's like Taylor Swift this, and Taylor opened a can of Coke. Like, who cares? It's just too much. She's got lots of great success. She's a great role model for kids and all that. She does some good work. It's like, okay, who cares? There's people out there starving in countries like in Gaza getting bombed to death, and they don't have a TV, you know, and we're worried about what Kim Kardashian's wearing and you know, for nothing really. It means nothing. It's just fodder and entertainment for people that got nothing else to do.
Yeah, it's clickbait, and I guess I would call it clickbait publicity in a way. It just keeps their machine running. Like you said, who cares what she's wearing, and who cares what can of soda she opened up 2 hours ago?
Yeah, and I won't say that I've been guilty of that too. It's like, oh, what's going on now? And then you start reading these idiots, and you see people posting, and then there's a left and there's a right, and everyone's against each other. You're right. It's just conflict creates money. You know, it sells magazines. It you know, creates anticipation of the next story, I guess.
Yeah. Well, what's on the horizon for Dead Horse Branding?
Um, we're doing some good stuff with Bo Diddley Estate, some cool brand collaborations. We've got some new young artists that we're working with that we're developing, which we love. We're finishing our office, which is going to be fun to have everyone in the same room again. But mostly just the same old stuff, just working, but on a higher level. And we're working on a festival in Australia, actually. We're taking a lot of Nashville talent down under to do a 4-day festival called Songs in the Gong. Hopefully it'll be November this year or early next year. But it's going to be a big deal, and we escape the summer, well, we escape the winter here every year and head over to Australia for the summertime and Christmas. So it'll be interesting to see what that festival does over there. But yeah, pretty much same old stuff: photography, video, websites, logo design, just being creative as a team and working together. And it's just fun. We love what we do, and we love helping people where we can, because a lot of people just don't. They've got it's like a box of jigsaw puzzle, right? They've got the pieces, but they're all shook up. And so we go, okay, this piece fits here, that piece there, but guess what? This one's got no painting on it. So we have to paint in that tile, and there you go. Now it fits, and we got to make it work for them. And to me, that's the best part, is seeing their careers grow and change. Because, I got to a point in my music career where I couldn't go any further. And to be honest, I'm a better visual guy than me out there trying to be a rock star. So I enjoy helping other people through my wrongs and through my rights, what I've learned, what I've done wrong and what I've done right. Melissa was big in management, so she saw a lot of mistakes in me, but I was like, no, this is the type of song I'm writing. I don't care if it's not popular. This is what I write. And it's like, well, looking back, I go, you know what? I wish I was a little bit more flexible, and I'll lean over this way a little bit, and then when I'm really established, then I'll just like do my own thing, and that's when you can do that. But yeah, we just keep on doing what we're doing.
So for everyone looking for top PR and branding, they can contact you through deadhorsebranding.com.
Yeah, come and see us. Our staff will help you, and we're there always to guide and steer the ship.
That's it. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you firsthand, Dead Horse Branding is the place to be for top publicity as well as brand management. That is something you don't see a lot from a lot of these PR agencies, but Dead Horse Branding, emphasis on branding. That is very important in today's world, especially if you are a creative person looking to, raise the bar, and Dead Horse Branding will help you to do that. So head over to deadhorsebranding.com. And Rick, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing us your background and your expertise.
Thank you, man. I love your show, man. I've caught up on a lot of stuff before this interview, so just to check out who you were, but you're pretty good in my book.
Hey, man, I appreciate that so much. And hey, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch all of the replays of our interviews with the top film directors, producers, even screenwriters, actors, as well as PR agencies like Dead Horse Branding. More on Bond on Cinema, as well as my other platform, the Dr. Ward Bond Show. We're also available on YouTube twice, as well as over a dozen audio platforms as well. I want to thank you for watching and listening. And as for me, I'll either see you at the movies or at a concert, or either from the red carpet. See you next time.